I believe we left off Tashma, right? The bottom of Tzadik Amud Beis, 90b, 2, 4, 6, 7 lines up from the bottom. So also remember again, we're focusing on the Shita of Rabbi Huda. Rabbi Huda was, so the Gemara, well, I should say differently. The Mishnah said that ultimately, again, the prohibition of Gid Hanasha applies to both the left and the right thighs. So remember again, the Mishnah says that, the Gemara said that our Mishnah does not reflect the view of Rabbi Huda, because what did Rabbi Huda say? Rabbi Huda said that the prohibition of Gid Hanasha only applies to one of the legs of the animal, v'hadas machras, and ultimately, again, it would appear, logic would dictate that which leg does it apply to? It applies to the right. So we were trying to understand, what does Rabbi Huda mean when he says hadas machras? Right? What does that mean? Does that mean that das machras, like das Torah, that midaraisa, that Rabbi Huda is sure that halacha l'maisa again it applies to the right, or that there's a suffix? There's a suffix, and because there's a suffix, but nevertheless we assume that it's the right. So we're trying to figure out. So we know Rabbi Huda holds that it applies to the right. The shaila is that a definitive statement or is that a suffix statement? So Tashma had samos vagidin vanosar yisrfu the shishasar. So remember again, the Brisa says over here about Karban Pesach. Karban Pesach, so the bones, the gidin, the sinews, and nosar is burnt on the 16th of Nisan. So remember again, the 16th of Nisan is the second day of Pesach, Chalamayid, first day of Chalamayid. So you wait to burn the leftover, the nosar, right, as well as the gidin, not samos the gidin, on the 16th. Va'avinamba, and we asked about this. Hani gidi ma'aviratayu. What is the story with these gidin? I gidei basar lechlinu. If the gidin are considered to be like basar, then you should eat it. V'i di'iyasar hainunosar. And again, I will say, if it's not considered to be like basar, then what? Then it should just simply be treated like nosar. And then it doesn't have to be singled out for mention. To which the Gemara says, Ella gidei tsavar. Rather, what are we talking about over here? We're talking about the gidin of the neck. I will say, if you take a look at Rashi, 4 lines up from the bottom, Ella gidei basar, the kashin kat samas. Rather, we're going to talk about the sinews of the neck, which are hard like wood. The darkon l'shayron, and again, obviously, therefore, people do not eat them; they're left over. Al karcho v'orcha ditana lemasnayu ba'anpei nafshayu ka'at samas. So listen to this. So the Gemara says, "Ilav basar ninhu l'shadinhu." So I don't understand. If these gidei, right? If the gidin of the neck are not like basar, therefore, what they will say, if they're not like basar, then they're not subject to nosar. If they're not subject to nosar, then what can you do? You could simply discard it. Right? You don't have to burn it, you could just simply discard it. And Rav Chisda said, the gidin mentioned ultimately over here in the Gemara, what is it a reference to? It's a reference ultimately again to the gid hanosha. Va'aliba Rabbi Huda da amar eno noeg ela ba'achas. And I will say it's a reference to the position of Rabbi Huda who holds that the gid hanosha only applies in one of the legs. Look at Rashi Rabosai. Va'aliba Rabbi Huda. The mesafkele hay aser v'hey basar. The Rabbi Huda is mesupak. Which gid hanosha is meat, and which I should say, which gid hanosha is mutter, which gid hanosha is aser. V'hilchach al karchi mishayir lehu v'tarvayu b'yisreifa. The cholchad v'chad misapkin alei be'atera v'havinosar. There was, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it would appear that the halach is you leave over both of the gid hanoshes, right, both of the gidin, and you burn them both on the 16th because simply you're not sure which one has the status of a food item versus which one is prohibited for consumption. So the Gemara says, what do you see from here? Shapir. See if you know that Rabbi Huda is musupak about the identity of the gid. He's not sure exactly which one. He knows that only, so will say, Rabbi Huda will say, I know for sure that only one of them is prohibited, but what? I don't know which one. I don't know which one. Hadas machras, logic would dictate that it's the right. So we'll say, if you know that Rabbi Huda is musupak, Shapir, then this whole thing makes sense. And we'll say, since Rabbi Huda is actually very interesting, you're going to end up leaving over both gidin until the 16th, and you're going to burn them as nosar. Even though one of the gidin is fit for consumption, one of them is not, you don't know which one is which, so you're going to have to burn both of them. But if you say that Rabbi Huda knows for sure that the right one is us or the left one is mutter, so go ahead, burn the right one, right? Or I should say, excuse me, you can even throw away the right one and let him eat the left one. Amar Rav Ika bar Chanina. So ultimately, again, Rav Ika bar Chanina said, Li'olam emalacha mifshat pshitale. In reality, I would say that Rabbi Yehuda Rabbosai knows for sure that the halacha applies to the right, doesn't apply to the left. So what's the case over here where you have to burn the gidin? To which the Gemara says, Kishahukru ulubasov nizarvu. In the beginning, you knew which one was the right gid, which one was the left gid, which one was mutter, which one was asr. But what happens, Rabbosai? They got mixed up. So because they got mixed up, ultimately, again, you don't know which is which. You would have to go ahead and burn both. Top of Tzadik Aleph. Ravashi Amar lo nitzucha ela lishmano. Ravashi says no. Ravashi says this case of Karban Pesach, Rabbosai, is a separate kind of case. This case is actually talking about the fat around the Gid Hanosha. Look at Rashi. Ravashi Amar, Mehacha Tap Rashi Tzadik Aleph on 91a, first line. Mehacha lo tivshet. From here you can't learn out anything. Why? Mishum Sveika de Gid Halo Mifshat Pshidale, Bahacha B'Shumana Gid Ka'amar Demutir Medoraisa. Rabbi said this brisa that refers to actually burning the gid is actually referring to the fat around the gid, not to the gid hanasha itself. This sign, Rabbi said, listen to this. Shmano mutter. In reality, the fat around the gid is mutter. The Yisrael Kidoshim, Klal Yisrael are Kadosh. We knew that already. And therefore, again, no gubo iser. Klal Yisrael decided to go ahead and almost create a protective fence around the prohibition of gid hanasha and prohibit the fat that surrounds the gid. Now, because of that, ultimately you have the fat of the gid, which is technically permitted for consumption. Klal Yisrael doesn't eat it. So, Rabbi say such an item like that, you cannot go ahead, obviously, and burn it on Yom Tov. Why can't you burn it on Yom Tov? Because halacha l'maisa, it is technically permitted for consumption. So when do you burn it? You burn it ultimately, again, on the 16th of Nisan. Ravina Amar lo nitzcha ela l'chid Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Ravina said, both say, what is this necessary for? This is only necessary for the position of Rav Yehuda named Shmuel. Don't Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Shnei gidin hein. Both say, this is amazing. There are two different gidin. Actually, it's interesting. Two gidin. Pnimi samach la'atzem, aser v'chayavin alav. So we'll say the inner gid, which is the gid closest to the bone, that is the gid hanasha, which is prohibited. And if you consume it, you are chayiv malchus. Chitzon samach lebasar, aser ve'in chayavin alav. Apparently, again, the outer gid, which is the gid closer to the flesh, is aser, apparently midirabanan, and therefore again you are not chayiv malchus on it. If you look at Rashi, ve'in chayavan alav, delav hainu ala kaf, ela besocha kaf, ubahu chitzon askinan, umeshayre al karcha, b'sreifa b'yidhamid da'araisa chazi. So we'll say, interestingly enough, when the Brisa says another interpretation, we'll say, understand, essentially what we're just trying to do is we're trying to figure out when the Brisa singles out gidin to be burned as nosar on the 16th, what gidin are we talking about? So now the Gemara is suggesting, Rabbi Yehuda named Shmuel is suggesting, the gid we're talking about is actually the gid that's not asr. It is the outer gid, the gid that is closer to the flesh. That gid technically is mutter mid'oraisa, asr midrabanan. So because it's mutter mid'oraisa, it has the status of what? It has the status of ochel. Therefore, if you leave it over, it will be called nosar, and therefore halacha l'maisa subject to sreifa. Tashma. Here we go. So we'll say, so therefore again, remember, let's keep our eye on the ball over here. We're just trying to figure out what Rabbi Yehuda holds. When Rabbi Yehuda says that the gid hanasha only applies in one of the legs, v'adas machras, and logic would dictate that the leg it applies to is the right one. Is Rabbi Yehuda making a definitive statement that I know for sure applies to the right, not to the left? Or is Rabbi Yehuda making a suffix statement? I'm not sure which one. But but it appears to me that the one that applies to is the right leg and not the left. So Tashma, here we go. If you ate a kizayis of this one and a kizayis of that one, you are going to be chayiv 80 malchus. 80 malchus. Now both say, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Eino Sofik Ella Arboim. Rabbi Yehuda holds that ultimately you only get 40 malchus. Now both say, now if you look at Rashi says over here, Mizek Mishal Yamin and Mishal Small. So we'll say, so Bepashtos, this is a case over here, you're eating of the Gid Hanasha, of the right leg, of the left leg. The Rabbanan say Chayiv 80 malchus, right? Makes sense. You've eaten 2 gidin, right? Rabbi Yehuda says only Chayiv 40. So watch this. So I'll say if you hold that according to Rabbi Yehuda, he knows definitively that it applies to the right and not to the left, Shapir. That's why ultimately you'll only be chayiv 40 malchus. Watch this. Havile hasras safek. Ooh. But say if you hold, however, that Rabbi Yehuda says that halacha l'maisa, this is a case of safek, right? It's a safek if it's the right or the left, but logic dictates that it's the right. Then Abba say you shouldn't get any malchus over here. Why not? It's hasras safek. But say what does hasras safek mean? Remember again, hasras safek means non-definitive warning or non-specific or exact warning. And Abba say generally we say that you don't get malchus. I should say, in general, according to Rabbi Yehuda, we're going to see you don't get malchus for hasras safek. So remember again, if Rabbi Yehuda is mesupak, is it the right leg, is it the left leg? That means when you warn a guy not to eat gid hanosha, you're not exactly sure which one is the prohibited gid hanosha. That's called hasras safek. Vishamini Rabbi Yehuda, damar hasras safek lo shma hasra. And we know Rabbi Yehuda is on record as saying that you do not get malchus for a safek hasra, hasras safek. Where do we know that from? So remember again, we had this case before. This sanya hika ezeh b'chazar v'hika ezeh. But remember this case. So you have a child and he's not sure which is his father. And remember we mentioned this a couple of weeks back. This is the situation where a woman gets divorced, right? Married. She's not supposed to get married for 3 months, right? Or should it's even if her husband dies, right? So let's say again she gets married within those 3 months, and therefore halacha l'maisa, we're not sure whether or not this child belongs to the first husband or to the second husband. So I say, so now what happens? The boy grows up, and what does he do? These 2 men are standing in front of him. Hika zeh v'hazar v'hika zeh, and he hits both of them. Right, so remember again, halach is your chayiv misa for striking a parent. So hika zeh v'chazar v'hika zeh, he hits man 1 and then hits man 2. Kila lezeh v'chazar v'kila lezeh, or he curses the first man and then curses the second man. So what's the halacha? Hika shneim b'asachos, or he hits them both at once. Oshe kilo shneim b'asachos, or he curses them both at once. Chayiv. So the Rabbanan ultimately say that you will be chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. And Rabbi Yehuda says there's only one case will be chayiv. Bebasachos chayiv. If you hit them both at once, you will be chayiv. However, bezeh achar zeh, pater. But Rabbi say if you hit them one after the other, you'll be pater. Why, Rabbi say? Why? Because if you hit them one after the other, that's going to be a case of hasras safek. You see, if you hit them both at once, then that's hasras vadai. Because if I hit them both at once, one thing is for sure, which is one of them is his father. If he's hitting them one after the other, then again, it's not clear. We don't know which one is the father. And it's possible that the hasra did not immediately precede the act. So because of that halacha l'maaseh, you won't get malchus. So also you see that Rabbi Yehuda holds that hasras safek doesn't work. If that's the case, then what? If that's the case, then if you eat the gid hanasha, both gidin, from the right and from the left, Rabbi Yehuda's in the Bryce says saying you get 40 malchus. But in reality, you shouldn't get any malchus because it's hasras safek. To which the Gemara says, "Hai tana savarla ki idach tana Rabbi Yehuda, tana hasras safek shma asra." So we'll say, so this tana holds like the other position of Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that you do get malchus even for hasras safek, even for non-definitive warning. So I'll say, so apparently there is a machlokes in the position of Rabbi Yehuda. What does Rabbi Yehuda himself actually hold? Does he hold hasras safek shma asra or hasras safek lo shma asra? That apparently is a machlokes. Disanya, we'll say, from where do we see an alternate version of Rabbi Yehuda? Here we go. Disanya, lo so siru mimenu ad boker. The halacha is by Karban Pesach, you shall not leave over anything until the morning. And remember again, the pasuk says, whatever you leave over, you have to burn. So we'll say, so what does the Torah say? So remember again, it says you're not allowed to leave over anything until the morning. That is a prohibition, that's a lav. Then afterwards it says, and whatever you leave over until the morning, you should burn. So there's a lo saseh, followed up by an asay. Lo saseh, don't leave over. The asay, whatever you do leave over, you should burn. So ba'kos of litin asay achar lo saseh. So the Torah purposely gives an asay after the prohibition. Lomar shein lokin alav divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Ultimately, again, to tell us, what I will say, to tell us that halacha l'maisa you don't get malchus because there's an asay that is there to remedy the los asay. Therefore, you don't get malchus. Rabbi Yaakov Omer lo min Hashem huzeh ela mishum dahabelav shein bo maisa v'cholav shein bo maisa ein lo ken alav. So Rabbi Yaakov disagrees. He agrees. You don't get malchus, but for a different reason. Why won't you get malchus over here? Because it's a lav she'ein bo ma'isa. It is a prohibition that does not have an act. In other words, this is a passive prohibition. I will say. How do you violate this prohibition? How do you violate it? By leaving something over, by not doing something. So because of that, you don't get malchus. But I will say, what's the point over here? You see, if Rabbi Huda really held that hasras safeg lo shma hasra, then there's a different reason why you don't get malchus for leaving over, which is why. Because when someone warns me not to leave over Karban Pesach, I will say again, remember, halacha l'maisa, that is a non-definitive hasra, because I still have time, I still have the ability to eat it. So because it is a nondescript and non-definitive hasra, that's called hasra safek. Yet Rabbi Huda doesn't say, so that would be the reason I don't get malchus. But yet Rabbi Huda doesn't say that. Instead, Rabbi Huda says the reason I don't get malchus is because there's an asay which follows the lav. And any time an asay follows the lav, ultimately no malchus. The fact that Rabbi Huda doesn't call this a hasras safek indicates to us that apparently there are different versions of Shitas Rabbi Huda. Shitas Rabbi Huda that holds hasras safek shma asra and hasras safek lo shma asra. So tashma. So we'll say we go weiter. If I eat 2 gidin from 2 legs from 2 animals, sofek pay. So I will say I get 80 malchus. Rabbi Huda Omer, eina sofek ela arbaim. I only get 40 malchus. So we'll say the fact that we're framing the case as what? 2 legs from 2 animals. So pshita de tarvayu li isura. So we'll say it would appear that we're dealing with a case that what? So pshita de tarvayu li isura. So ultimately, we'll say that it would appear that we're dealing with a case where both are aser. Ul Rabbi Huda itzterich. Ultimately, again, and for Rabbi Huda, I will say this is necessary to set it up this way. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Mishtei behemus, midinaket b'shtei behemus, ki eichi denehavi tarvayu yeminos. Naka. So you will say, why do you have to set up the case of 2 gidin from 2 animals? So you will say, every animal has 2 gidin. If you want to set up a case of 2 gidin, you could use 2 gidin from 1 animal. Why are you setting it up as 2 gidin from 2 animals? Because you will say, what does 2 animals allow you to do? 2 what? 2 right legs. 2 right legs. Now, the fact that we're setting it up like this, Rabbi say, indicates to us that what? That ultimately, again, the Tarvayli Surah, ul Rabbi Huda itzterich. And ultimately, again, the Rabbi say, now, interestingly enough, so the Gemara says, Shmamina, mifshat pshita le shmamina. So we'll say, so ultimately, and what do you see from here? You see from here that in Shitas Rabbi Huda was absolutely certain that halacha l'maisa, the prohibition of gid hanasha, only applies to the right leg, does not apply to the left. So I will say, we'll pause here for just a moment. So we have now, at this point in time, answered the original question of the Gemara, which is that Rabbi Huda said, Gid Anasha only applies to the right, doesn't apply to the left. His lashon was, Hadas machraz, logic would dictate. We try to say, what does that mean, logic would dictate? Is that a definitive statement, or are you saying it's a suffix? We've now established it's a definitive statement. We'll see where Rabbi Huda gets that from, but halacha l'maaseh Rabbi Huda holds definitively. The prohibition of Gid Anasha only applies to the right leg, doesn't apply to the left leg. V'pshitale amai sofig mem v'su lo lil kipei. So we'll say, but 1 second, let's go back for just. What's the case you just brought up? You just brought up a person who's eating what? Eating what? 2 gidin from what? From what? 2 right legs. The Rabbanon said you get 80 malchus. Rabbi Huda said you get 40 malchus. I don't understand. And you just told me in the same breath that what? Rabbi Huda definitively holds that halacha l'maisa, it is the right leg which is prohibited. So what's happening over here? Hachamay askinon kigon delesbo kizayis. Oh, I will say, what's the case? The case is where halacha l'maisa, each kid on its own does not have a kizayis. Desanya achlu ve'in bo kizayis chayiv. Rabbi Huda Omer ad shebo kizayis. So also, so the case that you'd have to go ahead and understand over here is that what? that halacha lamaisa, apparently according to Rabbi, in order for Rabbi Huda, there has to be a kizayis of a gid in order to get malchus. It would appear that the case that we're dealing with over here is either only one of the gidin had a kizayis, or both of the gidin together only comprised one kizayis. So even though Rabbi Huda will say that each and every gid of the right leg will be prohibited, it is only if there is a shear of kizayis that you get the malchus. So the case over here is you have two gidin from two legs, but altogether you only have one kizayis of gid, and therefore you'll only get one set of malchus. The time amai. So we'll say, so now, interestingly enough, now we go back and we ask a fundamental. So okay, so now we've established, Rabbi say, Shidduch Rabbi Huda, gid hanasha only applies to the right leg, doesn't apply to the left leg. Where do you get that from? Right? From where do you know that? The time amai. Amar Rava, Amakra, Hayerech. So we'll say, because the pasuk says, Al keilo yochlu b'nei Yisrael's gid hanashe asher akaf hayarech, right? That is on literally again the spoon that refers to the shape of the bone, right? The spoon of the thigh, hayarech, the thigh. So we'll say, so what does hayarech mean? Hamiyumena shebiyarech. So we'll say the most important of the thighs. So we'll say which is the most important of the thighs. So in general, again, the right always has a greater chashivos. So therefore, again, because the Torah, according to Rabbi Huda, is saying the Torah is singling out the thigh. So because Torah is singling out the thigh, therefore it applies to the right and not to the left. The Rabbanan will say, Hahu de poshit isura bekule yarech la fuke chitzon delo. So we'll say the Rabbanan will say, no. What that means is it refers to the gid which runs through the entire thigh. And we'll say that's the gid which is closest to the bone, to go and exclude the gid that is closer to the flesh, which does not run through the entire thigh. Rabbi Shmuel ben Levi Amakra. Rabbi Shmuel ben Levi says as follows. He says as follows. Rabbi Shmuel ben Levi Amakra be'af koimo. So we'll say Rabbi Shmuel ben Levi is giving another potential possibility for Shitas Rabbi Yehuda as to why the gid only applies to the right and not to the left. It's actually very interesting. We'll say, and this is going to open up our Agadata section, which is beautiful for today. Rabbi Shimon Levi Amar Kra Be'af Koimo. Ultimately, we're going to also remember the prohibition of gid hanasha is mentioned in the context of the struggle between Yaakov and the mysterious Ish. Right, the mysterious man who Rashi identifies as the Saros Shal Esav, the ministering angel of Esav. Watch this. Be'af koimo. So remember again, the Malach, the Ish, struggled with Yaakov. Ka'adam shechovek chavero, the yodo maga'as lekaf yimino shel chavero. So it's actually very interesting. So if you can imagine, Rabbi Shimon Levi says like this: if two people are wrestling, so this all assumes, right? It's a righty's world, right? So again, this is assuming that if you're wrestling with someone, you're using your right hand. You wrap that hand around them, and when you try to take them down, that hand often could go to that other person's hip. So if I'm a right-handed person, wrapping my hand around someone, trying to pull them to the ground, my right hand is going to end up connecting with their right hip. So because ultimately, again, there's a struggle between Yaakov and the Ish, and we know that something happens to Yaakov's thigh, to right by the hip area. So ultimately, again, we assume, Rabbi Shimon Levi says that it was the right side of Yaakov Avinu's body. So because of that, Rabbi Shimon Levi suggests this gives Rabbi Yehuda his shita ultimately that the prohibition of gid hanasha applies to the right. Rabbi Shmuel Nachmani Amar. So we'll say now we're going to speak a little bit about that encounter. So and explain still all again why it's the right. Rabbi Shmuel Barachmani said that the Ish appeared to Yaakov like an Ovid Kochavim, like an idolater. And I will say there is a halacha by an idolater, which is Da'amar Mar Yisrael shenitpala Ovid Kochavim b'derech. If you are alone with an Ovid Kochavim on the road, Toflo liyamino, keep him on your right side. We'll say why. So remember, we had this Gemara Maseches Avodah Zarah. There was a concern, I will say, that ultimately, again, the Ovid Kochavim would try to attack the Jew. This was just, again, representative of the realities in which Jews were living. And therefore, again, if you keep the Ovid Kochavim on your right side, should he choose to attack, again, this is assuming right dominance, you are ready to respond. So the Rabbi say, using this logic, if, again, Yaakov encounters the Ish, he thinks he's an akum, he keeps the Ish to his right. When the Ish attacks him, where does he attack Yaakov Avinu? On his right side. And therefore, again, kind of leading into the idea of Rabbi Yehuda that it was the right gid which was injured. We'll say, isn't this amazing? Alternate version. The Ish appeared to Yaakov Avinu like a Talmid Chacham. What does it mean? Like a pious individual. Right? Like a pious individual. Damar Mar, hamahalich liyamin rabo harei zabur. So we'll say, interestingly enough, so what happened over here? So apparently the Ish appeared to Yaakov Avinu like someone very pious, and Yaakov accorded him an incredible amount of respect. So therefore what? He didn't walk to his right, but rather again kept him to his left, out of deference. Therefore when the Malach ultimately attacks Yaakov Avinu, he attacks him on the right. But Abanon me'achorei asa. So we'll say, so remember, up until now, all of these are interpretations of the fight between Yaakov and the Ish, which lead us to understand that Yaakov Avinu is injured on the right side, which is why, according to Rabbi Yehuda, or potentially according to Rabbi Yehuda, that the prohibition of Gid only applies to the right and not to the left. What about the Rabbanon? What about the Rabbanon? So remember again, what do the Rabbanon hold? The Rabbanon hold that the prohibition of Gid applies where? To the right and to the left, which is how we paskin, right? It applies to the right and to the left. Like, so how do they understand the encounter between Yaakov and the Ish? So watch this. V'Rabbanan me'achorei asa, the Ish came up from behind Yaakov, v'nashe betarvayhu. And I will say, apparently attacked Yaakov Avinu by the hips, by the thighs, on both sides. Tried to take down Yaakov Avinu by the thighs, by the hips, on both sides. So therefore, again, Yaakov Avinu was in fact injured on both sides, both the right and the left. So we'll say, Rabbanon, hi be'av koimo, my darshibe. So we'll say, what do the Rabbanon do? What's the Joshua of the Rabbanon with the Lashon of be'av koimo? So the Lashon of Be'e'av koimo is a very interesting one. We translate it as the Ish struggled with Yaakov. But what does that Lashon of He'av ko actually mean? My darshibe, mi boile l'chidi idach Rabbi Shmuel ben Levi. Rabbi say they need it for the other position of Rabbi Shmuel ben Levi. Rabbi Shmuel ben Levi, malamit shehelu avak margolosam at kisya covered. Rabbi say He'av ko is Lashon avak, dirt. They struggled so much to the point that ultimately, again, the dust ascended all the way to the Kisi HaKavod, which I will say means what? That the struggle was so intense that literally, again, they kicked up the dust up until the Shamayim. Ksiv hacha be'av koimo, uksiv hasam va'anan avak raglov. Rabbi Shmuel ben Levi, lama nikra gid hanosha. Why is it called gid hanosha? So also remember again, gid means a sinew. What does noshe mean? So listen to this. Shenoshe mimkomo va'ala. But say, interestingly enough, noshe literally means to move. It refers to the gid which was dislodged. Yaakov Avinu was injured in a way that dislodged this sciatic nerve. V'chinu omer nashta gvurasam hayul nashim. Anurasi amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. Mai dichsiv. What's the meaning of the pasuk that you read in Yeshayahu? Davar shalach Adonai b'Yaakov v'nafal b'Yisrael. So we'll say ultimately again there was a word that was sent by HaKadosh Baruch Hu by Yaakov v'nafal b'Yisrael. What does this mean? So here we go. So the Gemara says Davar shalach b'Yaakov zagid hanasha. So there was something Rabbi say that was sent, or really again in this case dislodged by Yaakov. That refers to the Gid Hanasha. V'nafal b'Yisrael, it fell on Yisrael. Shepashat Isura b'chol Yisrael, that the prohibition of Osai has been one that has been accepted by all of Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina ma'idich se betavuach talvach v'achim. So now we're jumping around a little bit. What does it mean when it says this is by Yosef when he welcomed the brothers into Egypt? This is before he reveals his identity. So what happens? The pasuk says that he went ahead and he prepared a meal for them. So the pasuk says utavoach tavach v'hachein. He went ahead literally again butchered, slaughtered and prepared. What does that mean? So parolahan beis hashchita. So Yosef Rabosai, in order to accommodate the brothers' dietary needs, he went ahead and he shechted the animal in accordance with Abrahamic tradition. Right? This goes in line with Chazal's statement that Avram Avinu observed the tenets of the Torah. Therefore, again, the family of Avram Avinu was already eating with proper shechita. So Yosef prepared for them the meat in accordance with proper shechita, and he showed them the beis hashchita. He showed them where the neck was slaughtered, so that they could see that the animal was properly prepared. And he said to them, "V'achim Told Git Hanasha Bifneim. Furthermore, again, he ultimately went ahead and took out the Git Hanasha as well. Then Rabbi says, so he showed them the shchita, he trebered it, right? He took out the Git Hanasha, mamish right in front of them. And Rabbi said, this yields another very important idea. Kiman da'amar Git Hanasha ne'asar libnei Noach. Now, Rabbi said, interestingly enough, this would also support the idea that the Git Hanasha prohibition is not just for Jews, but it's for Bnei Noach as well. Vayivasser Yaakov levado. So we'll say, here we go, continuing in this narrative, so beautiful. Yaakov Avinu was left alone. Incredible Gemara. Yaakov Avinu was left alone. Rabbi Lazar, why was he alone? Shenishtayir al pachim kitanim. Now we'll say, why was he alone? Because we know Rashi HaKadosh quotes this Gemara because he forgot small jugs. He forgot small utensils. Remember again, Yaakov is moving his family across Ma'avar Yabok. Right? He's moving his family across this smaller area on the Jordan River. He's crossing them over. They're crossed over into Eretz Yisrael. He goes back. That's why he's all alone. Why did he go back? Shachach pachim kitanim. He forgot small utensils. So why did he go? In fact, the Yaakov forgot his Tupperware. So why does he go back for Tupperware? Just leave it alone. You're wealthy. So we'll say this is an incredible statement. From here we see that tzaddikim, their money is more important to them than their body, than their physical safety. What does that mean? Ultimately, again, because they never want to be tempted with theft. So we'll say, so the Gemara could be understood in a couple of different ways. Because tzaddikim never want to be tempted with theft, so ultimately, again, they're very careful with their possessions. Therefore, Yaakov goes back for the pachim kitanim. But the Maharal comments on this something so beautifully. The Maharal says, the tzaddik understands that everything you have in this world, from your biggest possession to your smallest possession, is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when you have something from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you treasure that. No different than when you get a gift from your child. It could objectively be a piece of junk, right? Often it is. But because it's from your child, you treasure that. The tzaddik understands that even the piece of Tupperware, which has very little monetary value, but I have that because HaKadosh Baruch Hu has chosen, has actively allocated that for me. So because of that, that item has incredible value and importance, and because of that, again, the tzaddik treasures it. That's how Yaakov Avinu goes back ultimately again for the pachim kitanim. Ultimately, again, the man, the ish, fights with him until dawn. So we'll say from here, we also learn another very important halacha, which is the only reason why the ish started up with Yaakov was why? He was alone. From here we learn a very important halacha. An important person, right, Talmid Chacham, should not go out by himself at night. Rabbi Acha bar Kahana Amrei Hacha. So also Rabbi Acha bar Kahana learns this from another source. Some of these. Hine hu zores karna seorim. Rabbi said by Boaz. So the Gemara understands over here, but remember again, this is when Naomi tells Rus, you could find Boaz in his granary at night. Why was it that Boaz was sleeping in his granary at night? So the Gemara over here, interestingly enough, so the Malbim in Rus says that Boaz used to sleep in his granary because he was afraid of thieves. Here the Gemara is understanding it that Boaz would work until late, and it was too late to walk home. It was too late to walk home alone. So therefore, again, he would end up sleeping in the granary at night. Rabbi Yavo says from here, Avram Avinu woke up early in the morning to go to the Akedah. So I'll say, this is amazing. This is so amazing. So we say, Avram Avinu woke up early in the morning. Avram Avinu is waking up early in the morning is the paradigmatic example of Zrizos. Avram, if you're so zariz, then when should you go? You should go at night. So from here you see that Adam Chashuv, and by the way, the incredible part is, Avram Avinu wasn't traveling Yechidi. He wasn't even going alone. But from here you see that there's an element of Adam Chashuv not traveling at night. This is Yaakov Avinu sending Yosef to Shechem to check on the brothers. So the drush of Rabose is Yaakov Avinu tells Yosef, Lech no re'eh. Go at a time when you can see. When can you see? By day and not at night. Rav says this from here. that ultimately, again, Vayizrach lo Hashemesh, this is by Yaakov Avinu. The sun came up, and Yaakov traveled on. He only traveled on when? At the point that the sun came up. Rabbi Akiva. But this is beautiful Gemara. Sha'alti es Rabbi Gamliel b'es Rabbi Yoshua be'itliz shel imom. So he comes along Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, I asked, incredible, I asked Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yoshua, itliz, Rashi says, is the meat market. In the meat market in Imum, which Rabbi says is the name of a place. So I asked Rabbi Gamliel in the meat market in Imum, Shahalchu likach behema lemishta benosh Rabbi Gamliel. So we'll say, so what happened? So Rabbi Akiva says Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua were in the meat market. Why were they in the meat market? What do you do in the meat market? They are purchasing an animal for the chasana, right? The son of Rabbi Gamliel was getting married, Mazel Tov, and they came to purchase the meat. So it was like Ksiv vayizrach lo Hashemesh. So ultimately, again, the pasuk says that the sun came up for Yaakov Avinu. So we'll say, remember again, the pasuk over here is vayizrach lo Hashemesh. The sun came up for Yaakov. This is after the night-long struggle with the Malach. So after the night-long struggle with the Malach, the sun rose for Yaakov. Kasha avra al penuel v'utzaleya al yirecho. Yaakov is limping. Yaakov, as a result of his injury. So Rabbi Akiva says, why does it say that the sun rose for Yaakov? Vayizrach lo. It only rose for him? It didn't rise for anyone else? The sun rose for the entire world. Rabbi Yitzchak, shemesh haba'a ba'avuro, zarcha ba'avuro. To which the Gemara says, no. In reality, what? The Rebbe said the same sun which set for Yaakov Avinu now rose for Yaakov Avinu. Rebbe say, watch this. This is such a beautiful Gemara. So we'll say, so the pasuk says, Parshas Vayetze, Yaakov Avinu left Be'er Sheva and he went to Haran. So we'll say what that sounds like is that Yaakov Avinu left Be'er Sheva and he arrived in Haran. So Ksiv Vayifka b'makom. But then Rabbi say it says that's what? He came upon the place. Now that place that it's a reference to, Rabbi say, is Harabayis, right? The Torah calls it Beit El, but don't confuse Beit El of the Torah with the Beit El of today. That's not where Yaakov Avinu was sleeping, right? He was ultimately against sleeping in Harabayis. So what's going on over here? Did he get to Haran or he didn't get to Haran? So this is amazing. Kimat el Haran. So we'll say, watch this. Yaakov Avinu leaves Eretz Canaan. He goes to Haran. When he gets to Haran, Amar, Efsha avarti amakom sheispalalu avosai va'ani lo hispalalti. But say, listen to this incredibly beautiful Gemara. Yaakov Avinu gets to Haran and he says, Oy vavoy, I passed right by the Harabayis. I passed right by the place where my father and my grandfather experienced the Akedah together. And I didn't stop there for a kapitel of Tehillim, right? I didn't stop there to daven a little bit. Listen to this Gemara. Kad yohev daite lemehadar. So Yaakov Avinu had thoughts, you know what, if only I could go back. Kaf tzele ara, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created kfitzas haderech. Literally, kaf tzele ara means HaKadosh Baruch Hu contracted the space, miyad vayifka b'makom. And Yaakov Avinu was able to go back to Harabayis. So both say, just in this name, what's the incredible message over here? Both say, when the Jew wants holiness in life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will always help you. Will always help you. If you want Kedusha in your life, if you want Kedusha in your world, you want Kedusha in your mishpacha, you want Kedusha in your home, if you really want it sincerely, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help you. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will move mountains to allow you to have that. Yaakov Avinu feels terrible. He feels he missed out. If only I could have gone back and davened at Harabayis, mamish kfitzas haderech, and Yaakov Avinu ultimately, again, vayifka b'makom. And he's back on Harabayis. Kad tzali, okay, he says it's capital of Tehillim, and now what? Now what? He wants to go back to Haran. Remember again, he needs to get out of Eretz Canaan because of Esau. So he wants to go back. So what happened? Amar Baruch Hu, Tzadik zeh bala beis maloni v'yiftar balolina. So Baruch Hu says, no, I'm a better host than that. How could it be? How could it be that Yaakov Avinu literally came to my abode, came to my hotel, came to my inn, and I'm not going to host him for the night? And Rabbi saying that, to be clear, the accommodations are on the lighter side over here, right? A bit sparse, right? It's an open field, right? It's an open field. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, see, Rabbi say the beautiful part over here is, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the most beautiful moments are when his children want to be close to him. So when his children demonstrate that desire to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the father doesn't want to let go. Yaakov Avinu felt bad that he missed out on that moment of connection. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a miracle called Kfitzas Haderech. Yaakov Avinu is back. Now Yaakov Avinu wants to, Kadosh Baruch Hu essentially says, I don't want you to go yet. What a beautiful thing. I don't want you to go. I'm not ready for you to go. So what does Kadosh Baruch Hu do? Miyad ba'ashemesh. Kadosh Baruch Hu causes the sun to set a little bit earlier. Yaakov Avinu, again, remember as we said before, won't travel at night. So because he won't travel at night, therefore what happens? What happens? He ends up sleeping on Harabayis. Ksiv. So we'll say, so by the way, that's the idea over here. The same sun that set early for Yaakov, Vayizrach lo Hashemesh, that's the same sun that rose the next morning. Ksiv. Vayikach me'avnei hamakom. So the pasuk says, Yaakov Avinu was sleeping there for the night. He takes from the stones of the place. Uksiv vayikach hasa even. So now we have a problem. The pasuk says he took the stones, plural, and then it says he took a stone, singular. So which one is it? Did he take stones or a stone? Rabbi Yitzchak melamed sheniskabtzu kol hatzanav lemakom echad v'chol achas v'achas omeres alay yamiach tzadik zeh rosho. So I say, so beautiful. What happened? The stones were vying for the opportunity for the tzaddik to put his head on them. Every stone was crying out, pick me, pick me, pick me. Let me be the stone upon which the tzaddik rests his head. Kadosh Baruch Hu makes a miracle, and all of them come together into one stone to support the head of the tzaddik. I will say, what's the message here? The stones, obviously, this is a metaphor. I will say, the Ramchal brings this down, right? The world, he brings down in his Hakdama, Mesilas Yesharim. The world is here to serve us. Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world to serve the needs of the Jew. If I'm serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then ultimately, again, the world serves my needs. And ultimately, I uplift the world as well. If I'm not serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then ultimately, again, the world is not here to serve my needs. The tzaddik, again, wants to serve the Ribono Shel Olam. And therefore, what Rabbi is saying, the stones vie to have the opportunity to support his head. An incredible idea. When you live your life in conformance with the Ratzon Hashem, the world is here to support your endeavors. Don't want to live in Ratzon Hashem, so the world does its thing just like I'm doing my thing. So Yaakov Avinu has a dream, and what happens? He dreams about the ladder. The ladder, right, is on the earth, extending into the heavens. Tana kamarach bashal sulam. So both sides. So this is amazing. So how long? What was the width of the ladder? So the Gemara says shmonas alafim parsos, 8,000 parsos wide. It's a big ladder. Dichsiv v'hinei malachei elokim olim v'yardim bo. So we'll say, watch this. We're going to get 8,000 parsos because the pasuk says that what's happening on the ladder? The malachim are going up and down. So watch this. Olim shnayim. So we'll say, now here's the interesting image. I know, and maybe you thought differently before seeing this Gemara. We often, I think, have the image of like, Olim Yardim means a malach going up, a malach going down. The Gemara makes an interesting diuk. Olim is plural, which means that there are two malachim going up, and Yardim means plural also, two malachim going down, which means Shnayim Yardim. Shnayim, so we'll say what happens. V'chi pagu hadi ba'adadi, havalu arba. Then we'll say that means at some point in time, the two going up and the two going down, what? So meet each other, which means that at some point in time, the width of the ladder must accommodate 4 malachim across. Uksiv beimo malach, and we'll say it says by a malach. How wide is a malach? Ugviyaso kitarshish. That literally, again, its body is like Tarshish. Ugamiri, the Tarshish trey alfi parsi havel. And we have a Masorah that says that Tarshish was 2,000 parsos. So we'll say if each malach is 2,000 parsos wide, 4 malachim across, that is one. You cannot pick this up at Home Depot, right? That is one big ladder, 8,000 parsos wide in the image of Yaakov Avinu. Tana. So we'll say another beautiful Gemara. Tana. Olin umistaklin b'diuk no shamala. The Yardin umistaklin b'diuk no shamata. So we'll say, why the malachim going up and down? So Rashi HaKadosh understands that they're going up and down. Why? The malachim going up are the malachim of Eretz Yisrael that escorted Yaakov Avinu until this point in time, but now they're checking out. The malachim coming down are the malachim of Chutz La'aretz, who are going to be malav, are going to escort Yaakov Avinu the rest of the way. The Gemara understands something different. That the malachim, there is an image of Yaakov Avinu, the Bechir Sheba Avos, right? The best of the Avos. His image is engraved on the Kisya Kavod of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's much messaging in that as well, not for today. The malachim go up, they see the image of Yaakov Avinu on the celestial throne. They come down and they see Yaakov Avinu, mere mortal, sleeping on the ground. And they're going up and down, up and down, up and down. How could it be that a mere mortal has his image engraved on the Kisei HaKavod by the Sakune? They wanted to harm Yaakov Avinu. So why do they want to harm Yaakov Avinu? Rashi says over here, Machmas Kina. They were jealous. The Malachim were jealous of Yaakov Avinu. That how could it be that a mere mortal is zocha to have his image engraved on the Kisei HaKavod? Miyad v'hinei Hashem nitzav alav. So say what happens? The Rebbe Shalom positions himself by the top of the ladder to prevent the Malachim ultimately again from harming Yaakov Avinu. Amar Rabbi Shimon Lakish, El Malay Mikra Kosi Yeshala Omro. If the pasuk not said it, you would not be able to say it yourself. Ki Adam sheminif albano. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu made himself like a father who fans his son. Just like if the child is getting a little bit hot, the father stands over him, fanning him for his comfort. So Kiviyachal HaKadosh Baruch Hu stood over Yaakov Avinu, protecting him, fanning him from the Malachim who wanted to harm him. So beautiful. Haaretz asher ata shochiv aleh. So remember again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Yaakov Avinu, the land on which you are sleeping upon, L'char Tnena, I'm going to give it to you and your descendants. Eretz Yisrael. My Rabbu say, Rabbi Yitzchak Melamid shekaf la HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'chol Eretz Yisrael ve'nicha tachas Yaakov Avinu. Supposed to say, if you can imagine this, the Rebbe Shalom folded up all the Eretz Yisrael and put it underneath Yaakov Avinu. Why? So the Gemara says, Shetei nocha likabish levanav. Because I say ultimately again, he gave all of Eretz Yisrael to Yaakov Avinu. Let Yaakov Avinu to stand upon, to sleep upon all of Eretz Yisrael. In that act, I will say, Eretz Yisrael in its totality was conveyed to Yaakov Avinu. So let's remember again, jumping back now to the struggle between Yaakov Avinu and, we'll say, we'll have to stop over here. We're gonna start tomorrow. We're gonna start maybe a little bit earlier. We're gonna do it together. We'll say, I'm telling you, you don't want. We have more. I got it. It gets better. We have more. I got it till tomorrow. We'll say. So stay tuned for the scheduling. We'll pick up.